So Mr. Musk had the historic Starship launch the other day. I'll show the clip on the screen. This is Starship, the rocket he says will take us to Mars. The largest ever moving object, I believe, and can carry, I believe it's 300 people, but I could be wrong in saying that. And his plan is to take this to Mars, to build a colony, to to build a civilization on there, and stop us from being a one-planet species. Obviously, that comes with its dangers. If something went wrong on Earth and we don't have eggs in different baskets, then we're kind of screwed. But there it is, flying up, and as predicted, as expected, as they said, really, bang! It does blow up. I mean, I don't think anyone expected this first attempt to go to Mars, right? I mean, if you look back on the history of rockets, they fail, they iterate, they get better, and then eventually we get to the moon. Eventually, we'll get to Mars, right? But keen to get your perspectives. Obviously, Mr. Musk is very controversial, so I don't care if you love him or hate him. It's not about that. But just keen to see what you think about the launch, really. So we'll go, Lorenzo. What's your take on that whole event?
To be honest, I don't have too many strong thoughts. I mean, obviously, since I was young, I've always wanted to explore in space, and the idea of being on a different planet and all the movies we used to watch as a result of that, I would be very, very excited at the thought of, obviously, maybe not in my lifetime, but the thought of us being able to be on another planet, for example, Mars. I always look at, what other Earth-like planets might there be out there, and right now I don't believe we know any. But I
mean, there's just potentially billions, trillions of them. I mean, right, we're a speck of grain of sand in the grand scheme of things. What's your take, Lucas, on Starship?
So I wouldn't worry about a failure, because as you said, like, this is another try, and every failure comes to some greater result. And with Musk, it's always interesting because there are many layers to whatever he's doing. Like, not like we're sitting in his head, but when he was sending Tesla to the space, everyone was talking about that. But actually, that secured him a lot of contracts of delivering other goods to the space satellites, etc. There's always this something going in the background next to the big story. So, recently we're talking how he was changing, without judging, changing Twitter and his effect on it. Everyone stopped talking about it at the moment because everyone talks about rockets. So from PR perspective, amazing thing for him and for his endeavors. When it comes to the space, I think people on this level may be thinking in different categories than we. So we will be thinking about how to get with our lives and so on. And we are not even thinking about being in the moon. But if you control so much wealth and look in the future, these headlines are very interesting. Let's build a colony. But probably there will be something in between, and that's a lot about exploration, about getting resources from asteroids, even from the moon. Anything that can be capitalized. That's probably something happening over there. So I wouldn't be so much excited about headlines, because they're just driving force for investors. But he is building something, and we'll see that soon.
Absolutely, yeah. It'll be very interesting to see, even if in our lifetimes, that he manages to pull that off. Rui, what's your perspective on the SpaceX historic launch?
There's a few angles to it that I am fascinated by. One is the failure, which I think is fantastic. It shows the Silicon Valley mentality that the world could adopt a little bit better. This notion that when something explodes, you can learn from it. It's an experiment. It's a data collection. It's an iteration, agile ways of working, of thinking, mentality, right? Which I think makes things move in the right way. Experiment, feedback, learn, adapt, try again. Your next iteration will become better. So that's one angle I really like about these. Not them celebrating the explosion of, it's quite iconic, right? I loved it. The other angle I think it's interesting is that the Chinese was the space program of China was looking at the footage from the launch in detail and trying to learn from it as well, which is, for me, was another interesting angle where they could see that it was the flight control system that failed, and with that they learned, and they got it pretty right, because a few days later, then I think it was Elon himself confirming that was the issue with the explosion. So how you can learn from these things these days, because we're sharing so much data, so much real-time things, that it was picked up. And finally, the ambition of getting to Mars. Well, I grew up watching Star Trek, so you know my answer right away, which I think is fantastic.
Would you want to go then? If I said, here's free tickets to Mars, I asked this question a few times on the pod, just sort of yes or no from each of you. Would you want to go?
I would say yes, but my wife wouldn't let me.
Yes, but for retirement.
For retirement, okay. And yourself?
Yeah, I would, as a tourist, yes.
Okay, all of you, I mean, me included. I mean, most people will say no, and they look at me really confused when I ask that question. But yeah, I mean, let's do it. Let's go. No, that would be fun. But hey, one day maybe